Hey, I'm Justin. I'm the illustrator who illustrated this illustration. Let's get into it. So one of the reasons I started this YouTube channel was completely selfishly. I felt like I wasn't spending enough time illustrating, and I knew if I was going to be putting out weekly videos, I would need to be illustrating a whole lot more than I was. So I have been illustrating now regularly for, what has it been, 6 months of YouTubing? Whoa, has it been 6 months? Something like that. And this illustration in particular felt like such a victory. I feel like a lot of the videos I've been putting out and a lot of the illustrations I've been doing, the results have been really good, but the process has been a little bumpy. Making lots of mistakes, doing things wrong, but this one felt really good all the way through, and I'm gonna talk to you guys about what's different about it. What did I do differently? And that starts right here in the beginning, is caring so much about the sketch. For this particular project, it's a really large book. There's 140 pages in it, so there's 70 illustrations. Only 7 of them are painted. Most of them are these really cool looking pen drawings that I did. And when I decided that one of them should be a color illustration, what I was doing is just using that drawing as a reference and then diving into the painting without really thinking through the drawing. And those pen sketches really do stand on their own, but they're abstract and a little funky, and when you want to actually dive into the painting of it, it's not enough information. So that's what I really like about this illustration, is how much I cared about the drawing. And then I started blocking in the colors, and this is where I ran into my first hiccup. But I feel like I learned my lesson from my previous illustrations, and I did the right thing this time. Right about here, the illustration felt wrong, which has happened before. Hitting these roadblocks where the illustration just doesn't quite feel right is completely normal, and I'm very used to it at this point. But how I reacted to it this time was different than how I reacted to it in this video, and this video. I just stopped painting.
Huh?
That's right, I just stopped painting. So usually when I get to this point and I kind of freak out, it's like, the painting's not working quite right. What I instinctively do is just move on to the next step, instead of really focusing and figuring out what the problem is. So if the drawing's not looking quite right, I go, oh, that's okay, we'll fix it in the blocking stage. And if the blocking stage isn't working, it's like, okay, I know how I'll fix it. I'll just dive into rendering. And those details will really make this thing look right. And then I'm rendering it out, things aren't working, it's falling apart, the entire illustration's falling apart. I get so mad, I get up from my desk and I walk away. And a little bit later, I walk back and I look at the illustration and I go, oh, the drawing's wrong. And then I go all the way back. What I did this time is I just skipped to that last step. I just stopped painting. I took a step back and I looked at it and said, okay, what is wrong here? And I diagnosed each phase. So I started with the drawing. Is the drawing good? And actually, this time the answer is yeah. Okay, the drawing is working. It's hitting that emotional beat. I feel like I can be a part of this illustration. I think the drawing is fine. Okay, then what about the blocking stage? And my value structure in the blocking stage was the issue. So what you'll see me do here is I'll put a black and white adjustment layer on this so that I can see it without its color. And then I go in and I start adjusting my values, brightening things that need to be brightened, darkening things that need to be darkened, and then I just gently tweak the color harmony. From there, I can actually start to build out my illustration. This is something I learned from Jason Seiler. He said that, this is not a quote, but he said something like, at every stage of your painting should be beautiful. And I think that's the difference between a professional artist and a student artist. A professional artist respects every step of an illustration. They respect the drawing, they get it right. They don't stop until it's right. They respect the value structure. They don't stop until they get it right. They respect the block-in stage, making sure the colors match that value and that the harmonies are working. And then they respect the rendering phase and getting the right amount of details for the style that they're using. Whereas a student, like I was saying, gets to these points where they freak out. They freak out and move on to the next stage. That's, for some reason, the instinct of young artists like myself, but I'm getting better, is to jump from step to step when something's not working. Whereas what I really need to do is just stop painting, step back, figure out what's wrong, and don't move on until it's fixed. So we start blocking in these colors and things are feeling right the entire time. I have that black and white layer on and I'm going back and forth. You'll actually see this throughout the entire illustration, even when I'm rendering out all of the little details, because this illustration relies so heavily on a dark shadow and that beak. I don't know if you call it a beak, the beak of a dragon sticking out, and the fear we have in the night. And so the value structure was so important. How dark those shadows were was really important, and how light the light part of it was. Just needed to have that right balance. Couldn't be black and white, but it also couldn't be floating around in these grays. So I really did feel like the block and stage was beautiful. Going back to that Jason Seiler idea of every section being beautiful. I really felt like block and stage was beautiful, which allowed me to dive in and kind of render whatever I wanted to. So I did start with the dragon, getting the sketch really built in there, but then quickly moved on to this knight because I was jazzed about the idea of this armor. And what ended up happening is I really think I rendered it out really well if it was a car, but it's not a car, it's a knight. I gave him this really shiny chrome look, which was a lot of fun as an illustrator to think through how this would reflect and what would you be seeing on the armor and all of this stuff. It was really fun to think about, but as I stepped back, I was like, this knight looks like he's wearing different parts of a car. So we needed to darken all of that, kind of add a little bit more of a matte texture. This is armor. You're not going to be seeing pure reflections in it. And moving on from there, and again, I'm constantly checking my value structure as I'm working with this knight. With this knight, I also made the same mistake where I got caught up in the details again. And that was, I noticed that instinct of something is wrong here and I need to jump into the next stage. Something's wrong, I need to just add detail. And then I remembered what I'd been thinking about. The whole thesis of this illustration is no, don't move on to the next step. If something's wrong, it's because of something I've already done. And that worked out really well. The skirt, I don't know if you call it a skirt, the kilt of this knight was pretty hilarious. I was trying a lot of different things and I wasn't sure exactly what colors it was. And at some point, it ended up looking just like a Christmas tree skirt, but I was able to back that down and actually find a style that I really liked. I quickly threw down some rocks and I threw down some grass. But you'll see you'll see that flicker of black and white, black and white, black and white. Whenever I add new colors into my illustration, I'm adjusting that value structure and I don't want to push and pull it too much. I want to keep that really simple value structure. So what you'll see me do is just go back and forth with the black and white, try a new color, switch it to the black and white. After I've got that simple value structure with the shadow of the rocks versus the light of the rocks, then I can start diving in and really building out some of the detail in the rocks, which was really fun. So adding these cracks in the rocks to compose a visual story, you want to feel that knight just looking up at the dragon and dropping his sword. And you can really use the composition of the rocks in the background to create that feeling. It's really interesting when you think of every aspect of your illustration as an important story point to create a feeling, to create an emotion, to create a story. And that's what these rocks are doing. All right, let's skip ahead. Nobody wants to see rocks rendered out this much. All right, we get to rendering out the sword here. Got a nice blue shadow on it. The sword needed to be really important, which what's really nice about swords is they're very shiny. So it's easy to use them as attention, but I wanted also that shadow on it. So you're connecting it back to the knight. Again, an interesting, just tiny little story moment. There's a reason that that sword is not completely exposed, but it starts to slide into the shadow of the knight. That sword's gonna bring our audience into the story, and then it's gonna fall under that knight, and you're gonna look up to the knight, and the knight's gonna be looking up towards this dragon, and the whole time, the landscape is also pushing up towards this dragon. It's cool once you see it. All right, here we go. Now we actually get to render out the dragon. The dragon was super fun to render out. Just this alligator-esque ancient dragon. So confident, looking down, knowing he's about to make a snack out of this night. There's just something so epic about that and so fun. You'll see me flip the canvas back and forth. That is just a way of letting me see through the lens of my audience who is seeing this for the very first time. There's something weird that happens when you flip an image. It's like when you look in a mirror and you don't see the mirror image, some of those trick mirrors where you actually see what you look like. You don't recognize yourself. Likewise, when you are painting and illustrating, if you flip the canvas back and forth, it gives your eyes this moment to catch things that look weird. And so then you can fix it. You flip it back. Does it look right? Flip it, flip, 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 flip. It's just a neat way to give your eyes the chance to see what your viewer is seeing. So all the while, you'll see I still have this black and white layer on, and I can go back and forth because I'm adding all these colors to the shadow of my dragon, but I need to make sure that it is sticking with that initial story idea that is just a value statement. This is dark, this is light. I was just really happy with how this dragon turned out. I think this is a really unique looking dragon. I think it is the right dragon for this story, which is most important. I think it really describes the kind of creature that the author was describing. I feel like I said describing a lot. I really think this illustration looks good. All right, here comes the fun part, is pulling those teeth. Ouch! I don't know. I can't tell you why it was fun, but it was a really fun challenge at the angle of this head to figure out what shape the tooth would be. And then this moment where this one tooth just starts glowing. It's actually, you might see in my black and white version, it's the lightest part of my illustration is this tooth, which is perfect for the story. If you think about it, we're all looking up at this dragon and the thing that is shining brightest is this tooth. It's perfect. It was just so exciting because that wasn't planned. You know, I didn't have it rendered out and thinking the brightest part of this painting is gonna be this tooth, but it's perfect, right? I love it. It is so fun. All of that to say, I am so happy that I am learning to stop painting and make sure that every section of my illustration is right before I move forward. And really, I think I proved it to myself in this illustration that every section of a painting can be beautiful, which is really exciting. So, without further ado, here is the finished illustration. Wait. Before we do that, please do like and subscribe. It would mean the world to me. Okay, here is that final reveal.
Nah, back up, man. The first time I saw you, I knew I had to have you. Don't mean no one night stand. Gotta find a way to be a man. It's something about the way you turned and looked at me. You're smiling.